just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, of course, alongside of me, right there is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Orioles? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the No Show. And Jim, I got to tell you, I am so excited because this is like NFL Christmas, baby. Tomorrow night is the NFL Draft. And I cannot express too much excitement because it's one of the times of the year where any given team, all 32 of them, have a chance to make their rosters better, preparing for the upcoming season. And every single draft doesn't disappoint at all. It's always something. There's surprises. You know, there's trades. Some teams are moving up to get a certain guy. Some teams want to move back to collect those picks to help build the roster up more. Wow. I just got to say, I am so stoked for tomorrow night. And it brings us to my actual, top 10 quarterbacks. That's right. The last position group that we have yet to cover here. The last position group to give you our top 10 for quarterbacks. We've gone through every single position. It was a little bit more difficult for positions such as like D-line because we kind of grouped the edge rushers and the D tackles together along with the defensive backs. We grouped the safeties and the corners and the slot corners all together and had the top 10 list. That was really difficult to do. And I still wanted to put more guys in the top 10, but there's only 10 spots, Jim.
Oh,
it just doesn't work.
So, and I know you always have, even on your honorable mentions, there's a whole
best
list
of the rest. I've renamed it.
That's right, Joe. So there you go. There comes your Joe's 2025 NFL Draft top 10. We're doing quarterbacks, and then after this, we're going to get right into some talk with tomorrow night and
some draft conversations, some rumors that we're hearing, some situations that may or may not play out for tomorrow night. A lot of interesting stuff that's happened in the last 24 hours, and I can't wait to get to it all.
All right, Joe, let's get right to it. Your list, let's hit it.
All right, real simple. We're going to go with number 10 here, and this is a quarterback that I didn't have very high expectations of throughout the season. You know, he used to play for Ohio State. He transferred to Syracuse. There's a lot of people that had, ideas of, well, how good was he? He couldn't handle the pressure at Ohio State of winning against Michigan or anything like that. Did that get to him? He ends up transferring to Syracuse, and quite honestly, he's not a bad quarterback. He goes to Syracuse. It's deemed little less competition in terms of the defenses that he'll have to face, but he had a really good year for Syracuse, and that's Kyle McCord. My problem with McCord is he has accuracy. He does. He has accuracy. He has the body type that you like as a quarterback going into the next level. He has a strong enough arm. He has the football IQ that you would like a quarterback to have. The problem I have with him is that pressure that does tend to build more so in the NFL than it does in college. It seems like he just never was able to rise to the occasion for Ohio State when that pressure mounted up to be, high temperature. So Kyle McCord to me he's a good prospect, but I feel like he's got a long road to kind of further develop at the next level. He's definitely going to need some time, just like all these quarterbacks are. Even though we're doing a top 10 list, even though when we get to number 1, everybody on this list is deemed a developmental prospect just at different levels. So Kyle McCord, I have at number 10. Number 9, I have Riley Leonard from Notre Dame. And Riley Leonard, I was really critical of him during the season. But then after I did some more homework on him and everything, I tend to like this kid. I like his attitude. He's heady. He's smart. He's a leader. He's got mobility for his size. He's also got that big size that you'd like to have at the next level. A guy that does not let anything bother him. And you can tell on the football field, no matter what the situation is, no matter how difficult, the standard is, or is it attainable, is it not? Riley Leonard has kind of come out on top almost every single time. So Riley Leonard, he has accuracy. It's definitely noted on film. He has strength in his arm. He's got the mobility that you like. He's got the mental toughness that you need a quarterback to have. That's why I have Riley Leonard at number 9 from Notre Dame. This is a guy who I think has a little bit more potential than Kyle McCord. But again, just like the whole throughout this whole list, the same motto is going to be development, development, development. So Riley Leonard I have at 9. Number 8, I have Quinn Ewers from Texas. Some people might be surprised on how I have him a little bit lower than others. But for me, it was big moments. I feel like Quinn Ewers, and it does play a part that he had an oblique injury that was bothering him all season. Don't know how much that affected him. We know it affected him somewhat. But was that the reason why he was trying to play through that injury, trying to make things work? And he had some big-time plays, but then on the other hand, he also had some bonehead plays. And it kind of was like, I don't know. I had a very hard time trying to place Quinn Ewers on this list because the tangibles are there. Like, he has next level accuracy at times. He has that big playability at times. It's just not consistent enough. So for this past season, for Quinn Ewers, you saw a lot of highs, but then you saw some lows. And some people are going to point to that injury, that oblique injury, that he was kind of toughing it out, trying to get through it for his teammates, trying to win the big games. And he did. Sometimes he won some big games, but in the end, it made it very difficult for me to try to evaluate him. Just how good is Quinn Ewers? Now, honestly, if it is that injury, if that was kind of like the critical part of this season, and that's kind of what hindered him a lot, Quinn Ewers could end up being the steal of the draft. Maybe other people kind of view him the same way to where they're like, man, that injury. Or is it like, well, he just didn't have that extra oomph. He didn't have, the next gear for a quarterback. A guy that wasn't executing enough. So that's why I have him at number 8. He was definitely a tough eval for me. And I have Quinn at 8. Number 7, I got Will Howard from Ohio State. And I wanted to love Will Howard. I really did. And I still think he, like all these quarterbacks, you never know. It's a roll of the dice, really. I mean, Will Howard from Ohio State, you look at the guy he's the same size as Josh Allen. Same kind of mobility as Josh Allen. He's got the strong arm. He's got the accuracy. As long as he has a clean pocket, just like most quarterbacks, right? Like, as long as he's got a clean pocket, he can make the pass. He can make all the throws. He's tough. He's a leader. He demands respect in the huddle. You can just sense that from him when you watch the tape. Now, just like any other quarterback, he has made some mistakes. Some people go right to that, what was it, the Michigan game or Oregon, the Oregon game. Time is ticking away. He was in the moment, but he knew they needed to get closer. And with seconds remaining, he decides to break out of the pocket, try to run and get a little closer for the field goal kicker and slide, but it was a little bit too late. Time expires before, Ryan Day could even call timeout. And then he ended up losing to Oregon. So it's like, there's moments like that where it's like, man, dude, you knew you had seconds. You knew you didn't have enough time to run the ball. Like, you had to kill that a little bit sooner. And is that going to creep up at the next level? You know, decision-making at times was a little off. And Will Howard, too, you know, just like any other quarterback, he gets flushed out of the pocket and tries to make a throw down the field, and sometimes it's not as accurate. So the consistency down the field sometimes isn't there. But, man, he's got a lot of traits that you have to love. He's got great potential to be a starter perhaps at the next level. How soon? I think it's going to take 3 years. Like, I really think it's going to – 2 years if he's a quick learner, 2 years if he can develop faster, but definitely 3 years, maybe even 4 years. Like, a lot of these quarterbacks, they're going to be in that gray area where we're not real sure just how fast these guys can develop. Because unlike past draft classes, these quarterbacks are not seen in the same light. There's not one star-studded quarterback that you don't have very many, issues with, and you're like, well, got to take this guy because he's a plug-and-play quarterback, and you're going to develop him as you go, and you're going to win games. None of these guys are like that. So Will Howard, I have at 7. Number 6, I have a guy by the name of Tyler Shough from Louisville. Initially, I was really high on this guy. He's got the height. He doesn't have the build. He's kind of lanky. He's a little bit smaller frame type of guy. He has mobility. He has the arm. He's got accuracy. He's got experience for sure. This guy has been in college football for quite some time. He's, mid-20s at this point coming into the draft. Some teams, they kind of devalue him because of his age, because teams view him as like, oh, well, we're not going to have him as long. But I'm not really big on the age thing. Like, guys mid-20s, you're going to have him until mid-30s at least if he pans out. Right? And then you sign another contract and So he can have a long career. It's not going to be as long as maybe some other quarterbacks that come out at 20, 21, 22. But still, come on, we're talking about a few years. So Tyler Shough has the potential, but he has major injuries coming out of college football. And that's kind of where I'm a little concerned. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little concerned with the way his frame is and the injuries that he had. He hit to his shoulder, to his lower body. At the next level, this is college football we're talking about. At the next level, guys are bigger, stronger, faster. They hit harder. He might take one good lick and then he might be getting up pretty slow. Maybe he has to take off some plays. So that's a little bit of a concern for me for Tyler Shough. But there are some people that absolutely love this guy. Some people in draft circles view him as the number 1 quarterback's prospect, which is a little surprising. But there are those teams out there that absolutely love, what his abilities and what he might be able to bring to a team. But I have him at 6. And we get to our top 5 here. This portion was a little difficult to figure out because there's a lot of pros and cons because there's no clear-cut standout guy. I have Jalen Milroe at number 5 from Alabama. Now, the knock on Jalen is short and intermediate accuracy is not there. It really isn't. Oh, yeah, but he made some plays like that, throwing to the receivers across the middle and all that jazz. Okay, sure, but the deep ball is what he does. He excels at. He throws a phenomenal deep ball, very accurate deep, subpar short and intermediate. I've seen on tape Jalen Milroe have a guy out in the flat, and he short hops it. Like the easiest pass to make, and he just doesn't get the ball there. Or he tends to overthrow guys. And it's like, dude, he's only like 8 to 10 yards away from you. Come on. So those kind of miscues for Jalen Milroe is the reason why I have him a little bit lower at 5. Now, if he can correct those issues, and a lot of teams, a lot of scouts kind of view Jalen Milroe as an enigma a little bit here, because what you're getting also with him is his stature, his leadership. He's super smart like a tack, and his mobility is one of the best we've seen in the last 10 years. Like, a lot of people are comparing Jalen Milroe to Lamar Jackson, and rightfully so. Guy's quick, fast, but man, is he built better than Lamar. He's more prepared to go into the next level of the NFL and take on tacklers and make people miss. So that's the infatuation of Jalen Milroe. Can they correct at the next level? Can they curb his poor footwork? You know, his mechanics fail him sometimes. His posture in the pocket, you know, stepping up into the pocket sometimes instead of just bailing and going outside. So there's definitely some things to work on with Jalen Milroe, but I know there's a lot of teams that are very intrigued by him. And some people are viewing him as in tomorrow night's draft of him possibly being a first-round pick. Leading up to this, Milroe was seen as a second or third-round pick. So something's changing in the draft realm. So we'll have to wait and see what in fact happens. Did he even get to the second round? Is there a team that is so infatuated with him that they're like, oh no, we have to have him? Could that be Pittsburgh at 21? Something to think about, because prospects like Jalen Milroe got an invite to the first round. Now the NFL has done their due diligence. They talk to teams all the time. They're saying, okay, where do you guys view these players? Are they first rounders, or do you think they're on the outskirts, or maybe so first or second round? NFL wants to get away from having prospects stranded in the green room for hours on end until they get picked, or maybe not get picked at all in the first round. So what's interesting is the fact that Jalen Milroe got an invite for the first round. So expect him to go, but I'm not sure where. And that's the fun part, is very intriguing stuff that's happening. Number 4, I don't know how this guy does not get enough praise, does not get enough love, but Dillon Gabriel from Oregon. I get it, he's short. I mean, okay, he's short, but he can make all the throws. He's one of the most accurate quarterbacks coming out. He has a strong arm. What am I missing here? The guy has some mobility too. He's tough. He's physical. He's a little bit brolic for his short stature. I don't know. Like, I have him higher than most people. And I've watched him, and I'm just like, I don't understand why his name doesn't ever get brought up in terms of one of these better quarterbacks. But I got him at number 4 because I've seen him do it time and time again. I mean, played at Oklahoma, played at Oregon. He's bounced around a couple times in college, but guess what? Everywhere this guy's gone, he's had success. So somebody help me, please, with Dillon Gabriel. What are we missing with him? And if you say, oh, it's because he's short, that's not good enough. But I got him at number 4. I think he's a hell of a quarterback, even if he has to go to the right system, or he just needs, the right offense to kind of fit him in like a chess piece, whatever. But I still think he's an excellent, prospect for sure. Number 3, I got Shedeur Sanders from Colorado. Shedeur, on many levels, everybody is all across the board with this guy. Some people have him number 1. Some people have him number 2. Some people, I don't even know if anybody has him number 3, but I do. He is accurate, and he quite possibly could be the most accurate quarterback in this draft class. He is probably one of the smartest quarterbacks, high football IQ. I mean, for God's sakes, he's been growing up in the football, he's been growing up in the football, foundation of his father. He's been taught by his father, like, how to read defenses growing up. He's gotten a head start unlike some of these other quarterbacks, where he's definitely prepared for the playbook, for digesting it and reading and just kind of like spewing it out in the huddle and reading defenses. That part he's exceptional at. The problem I have with Shedeur Sanders, though, And there's a lot of teams that just don't like his attitude. They don't like how he comes off. They don't like, but they've done. You could say the same thing about his father, Deion Sanders. When he was getting drafted, he was very cocky, very confident. Shedeur is confident. I don't think he's really cocky, but I view Shedeur Sanders as probably one of the more accurate guys, a guy that is, he doesn't have all the physical traits, but he has all the mental ability for the next level. He's definitely prepared for the next level mentally, but he's not as mobile as you'd like. He is a pocket passer, no doubt about it. And like I said before, he is very accurate, but here's the thing. There are situations that I've watched for this season especially that when the team needed him to rise up and be the guy and kind of, push them to get to a win or score that last second touchdown drive, he just couldn't do it. I mean, we're talking about lower tier defenses like BYU. Now, I'm not trying to knock on BYU, but I'm just saying, versus power schools where you would have to face top end defenses week in and week out. Shedeur didn't have to do that. He played in a very mild conference where there wasn't a lot of competition. There were some, but not a lot. And even when they had to face the tougher teams in his conference, he didn't play up to par. And that concerns me. So if you're not doing that at that level, when it's a little bit easier than some other quarterbacks that have to take on these SEC teams where they play better defenses all the time, and you're going into the NFL, that's a concern. The one other thing that I'm going to say about Shedeur, too, is the fact that people keep criticizing his lack of arm strength. I think he has enough arm strength to make throws. The problem with them is that it looks like he's straining just to make them. And when you strain to make certain throws, the ball comes out all kinds of crazy, all kinds of lopsided. It comes out like a duck, wobbles around. There's no tight spiral. He can throw the spiral when he's calm, cool, collected, short to intermediate. But when he's off-platform throws, having to throw it super deep, that's when the ball gets a little bit messy, and that could delay some of the timing. That could lead to turnovers. So that's what I have. I don't dislike Shedeur, but I don't really love him and what he's going to end up being in the NFL. I don't view him as a guy that's going to come in, learn for 2 years or a year, or maybe get thrown to the wolves, and he's going to just come out on top. I just something to keep in mind. Now we're down to the last two. Number 2, Jackson Dart from Ole Miss. That's right. I have Jackson Dart, my second rated quarterback. And just like anybody else, Shedeur's the big name, but Jackson Dart has development that he needs to take care of at the next level. He's not a finished product. None of these guys are. But Jackson Dart, the thing that I love about him is that he has all the intangibles already. He's got the size. He's got the mobility. He's got a strong arm. He's got the ability to fit it into tight windows at times. Not consistently, but that's something that you got to work on. Decision-making sometimes a little rocky. But, man, the potential for Jackson Dart is he could end up becoming possibly the best quarterback coming out of this draft class if everything goes right for him. And that's why I got him at number 2. And that brings me to number 1 with Cam Ward from Miami. Consensus number 1 quarterback in this class, and you got to love what he brings. Just like some of these other quarterbacks, Cam Ward is smarter than you think. This kid, he's got a hell of an arm, and that's first and foremost. He can be accurate, but then he also has issues from time to time with decision-making and accuracy together. There's plays where I've seen Cam Ward, roll out to the right and then looking, throws across the field, which is a no-no, and ends up throwing a pick. So it's like there's going to be some teaching moments for Cam Ward at the next level. Definitely a guy who's still not a finished product, just like everybody else on this list. But I feel like Cam Ward has the highest ceiling, whereas Jackson Dart is pretty close right behind Cam Ward. I don't think it's that big of a gap. I think those two guys have the greatest potential at the next level, and Cam Ward obviously is the favorite amongst all of them. Cam Ward also gives you a little bit more mobility than Shedeur does. Jackson Dart's also pretty mobile too. So, like I said, my top two quarterbacks in this class are my kind of like my favorites to project for the next level, but everybody needs to further develop. Jim, that's my top 10.
All right.
That's what I got to say.
All right, Joe. Yeah, I mean, there you go. I mean, you know who's going to be at the top here. You know, I guess as expected here. You know, from what you're hearing from you know, other experts out there, draft, you know, experts that you see and things like that. So Cam Ward is expected. He's going to go number one. I know even early on, it was a lot closer. You know, they were working out together, Shedeur and Cam, and talking smack.
The trash talking.
The trash talking.
That was hilarious.
And it's kind of funny, like after that whole scenario, how much further away that, you know, Cam kind of separated himself, like from Shedeur after that. You know, so I think that's even part of maybe some of Shedeur's attitude after this too. You know, because a lot of people are saying that he's a tough interview too, like, you know, cocky, like you said, but it's you know, I think how he's coming across where I think he feels he has to defend himself, because I think his ego's hurt a little bit to where he's like, oh, we were there neck and neck. It could have been either of us. Now, you guys are throwing me out. You know what I mean? So I feel like I have to prove myself, which that could be a really good motivator for a lot of different players, and for him as well, to get people going. And like you said, he's got a great, you know, family tree, bloodline there too, and Deion Sanders too, a great athlete stuff, but the thing is the unknown right now. And like you said, you're seeing the tangibles. Mentally, he's prepared. You got it. Like I said, nobody can prepare you better than what Deion Sanders has, you know, with his experience. But as far as the other things, the mechanics and stuff like that, that's where he's kind of lacking. And if somebody just reel him in, I think that would be a key thing for him. And you can see the potential. I don't think his father's going to be much of a problem once they enter the NFL and stuff like that. I'm sure he's going to be always talking about him all the time. I mean, we've seen this before with other, you know, fathers of you know, young guys.
That's my boy.
And things like that or whatever, and even former athletes. But it's never like taking over the whole thing and stuff like that. I mean, it's nothing like the NBA. Well, who's that one guy who had all the LaMelo, whatever, and all these kids that entered the NBA? The dad was like the main like promoter for him and shit like that. I can't remember who the hell that was, you know, but NBA is totally different. So the NFL, I don't think it's going to really affect it that much. But Joe, a great list here. We'll see if like Dylan ends up being one of those guys that jumps into the top here. A lot of people don't expect or
nobody's
talk about right now.
about
So Dylan Gabriel, it'd be interesting to see if he drops into this one and into the conversation night one. So tomorrow night, here it is, night one.
Very exciting.
We're going to be going live tomorrow night through the whole thing.
Boy, it's going to be a
long
marathon
night for us. So we're going to be on Grumblings Media's
that's
YouTube
our brother
page
channel,
and things like that. So we will be sharing that live too as well. We're going to go live 7:30. We're going to go the whole night. So if you guys want to pop us up onto the screen and aside on your phone or whatever while you're even watching whatever program you're watching. We're also going to have the picks shown live too as well, so you won't miss a thing there too.
Also, we're going to have a special guest
too as well.
Honestly, we've done a few shows with him. He's a former NFL scout, Roderick David. We're going to have him on. He's been amazing. Every time we have him on, we had a lot of fun. You know, the past episode we did a mock draft last week, and that was a blast going back and forth, you know, going with the different picks and whatnot. But again, if you want some insider knowledge and you want to listen, this is the only show to go to. So tomorrow we'll be with our brother channel and Grumblings Media. We're going to be covering the draft live, every single pick, like Jim said. But we're also going to have Roderick David on at some point, probably in the early teens to late 20 or early 20s or something like that, in the middle portion of the first round, where if you want to ask him a question, listen, we've asked him. We've utilized him as a source to ask him some questions we've always wanted to ask any kind of NFL professional. Curious about how the war room works. Curious about how teams kind of categorize some prospects or anything like that, or even the post, process, like undrafted free agent signings and all that. Like, if you want to ask him a question, even if you want to ask him a question about your team, like, what do you think are a couple of names that we might take that maybe the media is pushing for other guys, but these guys are probably in the picture. So make sure you definitely tune in. Make sure you get interactive with us, because we're going to be live. You drop comments down below. We're going to read them off. We're going to give you a shout out. We're going to make you guys part of the show, basically. So we're going to have a hell of a time. We're going to have a blast, and we want you guys to be a part of it, and let's just have a good time. It's exciting. I can't wait.
Hell yeah,
I really can't wait.
Hell yeah, it's gonna be fun.
By the way,
fun last time.
Coverage starts 7:30, so we will be going live 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hop on early if you want to get those questions out of the way before the draft kicks off, or anything else that you guys might want to talk about. Get active.
All right, there we go. So here you go, Joe. Here is the lineup right here, as we know, for the first round so far, until some kind of trades happen. But from what we're hearing too, as of most recent rumors here, is that there's a lot of teams that are trying to trade back. I think, and teams that are back further aren't really buying in on that. They feel like if that's the scenario, that there's nothing worth kind of trading up for right now. They're rather just sitting there in their position to where they are. They can still grab talent.
Here's the deal: is that storyline is no longer good as of the last 24 hours. So the phone calls are happening right now as we speak, or all day today, and even during the day tomorrow before the draft kicks off, and we'll even say 2 days ago as well. There's been phone calls being had by teams that are picking a little bit lower that want to trade up. Maybe they're concerned that they're not going to get a guy that they want, or they really want a certain player to move up for. Mm-hmm. We're hearing the Dallas Cowboys. We're hearing the San Francisco 49ers. We're hearing the Miami Dolphins. We're hearing the Denver Broncos want to trade up. We're hearing Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to trade up. There's definitely plenty of interest that want to trade up. And even on the flip side of it, there's just as many teams that are interested in trading down. It's all going to come down to, can they agree on a trade? Because the interest is there now, as of the last 24 hours to 48 hours. That's the interesting part. And Jim, by the way, this is the first time in draft history that we haven't had a trade yet this close to kickoff, this close to the start of the draft. Mm-hmm. So maybe because of the way the process has ebbed and flowed to this point, because this draft class, even though there's certain positions that are super incredibly deep, that it has taken teams this much longer to say, you know what, we feel comfortable with our board now. Now let's make the phone calls. And maybe that's why it's delayed a little bit this year. And now the phone calls are being had. But the main question is, can anybody agree on compensation? Can anybody pull the trigger and say, all right, you know what? Yep, we agree. You agree. Okay, send it to the NFL. Let's get this thing done. And I have a hard time believing that like somebody from bottom 15, maybe even 12 down where the Cowboys are at 12, mm-hmm. 12 and lower. I don't know how high up these teams think they're going to be able to trade up, because if you're the Broncos in the 20s, that's an awful big haul to trade up to, like, say, Jacksonville at 5. And does Jacksonville, because what I'm hearing is that the Broncos would really want Ashton Jeanty. Mm-hmm. You got to trade up to the 5th spot to get him, because nobody knows what each team's going to take. But some people are like, wow, Jacksonville Jaguars, it's a possibility they could take Jeanty. the Vegas Raiders right after them.
That's
It's a
what
possibility they could take him.
Mm-hmm.
But if we want him, we got to trade with either Jacksonville or the Patriots at 4. And if you're going from that far down, you basically got to mortgage your future to get one player.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know how realistic some of these teams and how far up they're planning on trying to trade up for, but it's going to be one hell of a ride. I can't wait. Leading up to kickoff, there's definitely going to even be more storylines as we approach.
Yeah, I mean, again, like you said, it has been kind of silent right now, but that, I think, shows how intriguing this draft is and where some of these people see these, and the teams that happen to be quarterback needy that are in the top spots, and the fact that, judging by scouts and people out there, insiders, that it's a weak class kind of shuffles that whole thing up too.
Yes.
There isn't a sure thing to like, all right, these guys are quarterback here. So now they might do best available. So that kind of screws everything up, I guess, in a sense, in terms of the draft.
Yeah.
So where, like you said, if you're looking for those skilled players that are there, are you a team that's going to try and move up there and go for that? We've got a comment in the house with us tonight. It's a new know-it-all, looks like, and his name is Vito.
What up,
Vito's
Vito?
with us.
What up?
First-time listener. I'm a big Lions fan. He goes, I think they make a big move tomorrow, something unexpected, trying to make a run at Super Bowl this year. Don't know how or who, but I think it happens. What do you think, Joe, about the Lions making a move?
So, I mean, in this draft in particular for the Detroit Lions, I mean, the draft is already going to kind of basically fall in their lap. Because of how deep the defensive linemen are, you want to go edge to go opposite Aiden Hutchinson. And by the way, Aiden Hutchinson looks amazing right now. Seeing him work out, he's running up and down the field like he used to. So definitely you got to be excited about that. First and foremost, he's getting healthy. He's getting there. Second, for the draft, I really think they got to pair him with an edge. I think that would be such an amazing thing. And the Lions have set themselves up. They've turned from one of the worst franchises and horribly run to now one of the best in all those categories. And they've done an excellent job of re-signing premier players that are on the roster so they don't lose anybody, especially all guys in their prime. And now they've prepared themselves for the draft to where they literally could just sit where they are and still get a very good premier edge rusher. And they probably have, 3 or 4 guys that they really love, and they think that they can get them where they're sitting at. But for Vito, if they are one of those teams that are making those phone calls, like, hey, listen, let's just say the Detroit Lions love Mike Green from Marshall. I think he's an excellent candidate. He would be an amazing get for Detroit. Could they pull it off? They would probably have to trade up to right above Atlanta. And it's doable. Because Atlanta to me is like, they're one of those edge hungry teams, and they've been that for years. If Atlanta has a chance to get that guy, they're going to take him. But there's also a possibility that he goes higher than that. And that's the exciting part of it, is because it's all the unknown. It's the mystery, And for the Lions, I think they're in a really good spot this year. They don't have to be pigeonholed or forced to pick any one position, really. They can let the draft come to them, much like the Eagles do. And other franchises like the Vikings, like they've done a good job of that too. So I think the Lions are in great shape. And there's so many different flavors of edge rusher too. Like, do you want just a guy with blazing speed? Like James Pierce Jr. I hear is another candidate that the Detroit Lions like, a guy who's a little bit different than Aiden Hutchinson for sure. But man, elite, and I mean elite skill set. The way he times his get off of the snap is uncanny. He's so quick. He's fast as hell. I mean, he's got pass rush moves. He does need to build up his body a little bit, like a lot of these guys. And every prospect is going to get to the next level. They're going to eat better. They're going to, work out all the time. Their main focus is going to just be football. No more school, no extracurricular activities, football. That's their job. So they're definitely going to get better. And James Pierce Jr. to me is another guy who definitely keep your eye on. Or like Vito said, he thinks he's got a hunch. He's got a feeling his lines are going to move up and possibly make a big move.
Yeah, he says here, the reason I think they make a move is just knowing that how many signings they have coming up. Gibbs soon, Jameson Williams, Branch, Laporta. So I think they are or should be in the mindset of win now. They did just lock up, their safety here, now the highest paid safety in the NFL.
And rightfully so. That was amazing.
We are hearing rumors, actually, about Jameson Williams being on the trading block here during this draft, too. So is that a scenario that they kind of dangle out there, they use? We've talked about Jameson Williams out there when we brought up the 2022 draft and whether he's a bust or not. And it's tough to tell, too, because he's been injured all the time or even having a gambling problem. But this past season, his best season ever, looks pretty good. So if anything, his trade bait value is probably highest right now. So where do you sit him? Because again, you've seen small samples of this guy, which he's great for the offense and looks pretty good. But if it's a guy you do have to re-sign, what you're looking at, and potentially a suitor could be there in a trade if they wanted to package him in there.
I don't think they're going to be a suitor. I mean, because the Detroit Lions are going out of the park home run with in terms of compensation. They're expecting a first-round pick for him. You're not getting that. You're just not getting that because the production over time is not there, and he's given a year because he just didn't play at all his rookie year. He was injured. He just couldn't do anything. So okay, fine. You get a year of development. To take a look at. And I'm a Jameson Williams fan. I do like him. I think he's growing slowly. He's developing slowly for the Detroit Lions. We've seen spurts and big playability that he brought to Detroit this past season. But then again, he tends to get a little bit of injuries, and then he misses a couple days and comes back for that week. And so maybe internally, Detroit, the reason why they're maybe prepping to possibly trade him away is because there's growing concern in the organization that they don't view him as a guy who's going to stay on the football field and be that guy that they anticipated him developing into. So I get he could be a bargaining piece as part of a trade to move up. It's a possibility. But I don't think – I still think the guy is going to be a very good player for them going forward. But, again, he's got to find a way, no matter what it is, whether it be training, whether it be eating better, sit in a hyperbaric chamber for 12 hours. Like, he's got to figure out something that works for him to keep him healthy so he can have a full season uninterrupted and really see where this guy can be, what he can be for the Detroit Lions. Because that'll also dictate what his contract's going to be. Because if he continues to be like, he shows spurts and he had, he had a few touchdowns this year, but only 600 yards receiving and only 40 receptions, and that was pretty much it. Like, that's kind of where it's going to be like, all right, well, we don't have to pay him a lot of money. We can keep him, but, he's not the guy that we drafted. He's not the first-round pick that we envisioned to be an elite talent at this point. So he's kind of like he's definitely a wild card at this moment right now because there's still not enough information to kind of say, okay, yeah, he's definitely a bust. Or, he's an okay player. Or maybe we can see him become even better than what he is now.
All right, here, Vito's got another question. We love it, Vito. We love it out there. All right, he says, who makes the desperate move for a quarterback, Joe? I could see New York Jets drafting Milroe or Dallas trading up for either Milroe or even Shedeur Sanders. What do you think about that scenario?
Desperation is spelled P-I-T. It's Pittsburgh. Like I think
Yeah,
Pittsburgh
they're probably the most
is
desperate right now.
is
or you
right
think they
now-
would be.
right now that they say, okay, so Mike Tomlin in his press conference said, whatever Rodgers decides, it's not going to dictate the draft. And it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't. But if Rodgers doesn't make a decision, like, in the next 24 hours, like, then you don't typically have a starting quarterback. Okay, you re-signed Mason Rudolph. Congratulations, Pittsburgh. You got a guy who's been there before, and you didn't view him as a starter then. And now they're talking about, well, we feel comfortable with starting the season with Mason Rudolph if that's the case. Really? I don't think so. So I think desperation hits tomorrow night, because I don't expect Rodgers to be like all of a sudden, hey, guys, wait. I know you got the 21st pick. I'm in. I'm signing the deal right now. So you don't have to really worry about it. They still have yet to find the future quarterback. They've tried with Kenny Pickett. In their minds, they're like, this isn't working out. They move on from him. Mason Rudolph goes to free agency. He's gone. He comes back. Like, what are we doing in Pittsburgh? I really don't believe that Pittsburgh at 21 in the first round, no matter what the situation is, I don't think they're going to trade up at all. Okay. Pittsburgh historically does not trade up. They're pretty set in their ways in terms of like wherever they're picking, they're going to stay. Now, they may trade back, to be honest with you, and because they have no second round pick at the moment.
Yeah.
So even if they were freaking going out of their way and saying, you know what, we want to trade up a few spots. We really want to get this guy. You don't have a second round, so you're going to have to give up like a third, a fourth, next year's third. Like, you're going to have to give up some major compensation just to make any moves. So I don't envision Pittsburgh moving up. I do think that it's a possibility they move back to get extra picks. And I don't think, even though they are desperate, I just don't believe they're going to take quarterback in the first round. I just don't. Given these quarterbacks that are here, now it's possible if a guy slides that they like, let's just say Shedeur. Let's say Shedeur slides out of the top 7, whatever, right? And he keeps coming down and coming down and coming down the all the selections. He's right there at 21. Does Pittsburgh then take quarterback? We've heard, by all accounts, Mike Tomlin does like Shedeur Sanders. I don't think anybody loves the quarterbacks, but I think they like Shedeur Sanders. It's a possibility at 21 if he's there. Maybe that changes the mindset then, is because the guy slid to them. So I got to be honest. I think it's one of those things where another team that's desperate to trade up, Saints. I would say the New Orleans Saints from the second round to trade back into the first round. Yeah. I don't envision the Saints, honestly. I understand the Derek Carr thing, that situation. He needs surgery. Now they don't have a starter for this year. Does that mean they just say, well, we tried and we're just going to get through the season no matter how it unfolds? I don't think Mickey Loomis, the GM, is cool with that. I think he's going to want to try to make a move, whether it be right or wrong, but I don't think it's at 9. Because that's where they pick in the first round. I just don't believe they're going to take a quarterback. I don't think Shedeur, even if he does tend to slide and he's there at 9, I still don't think they're going to take him. I think the more realistic approach for them is that they may trade from second round back into the first round if they really like a guy that's there.
That's what's going to be the storyline. When he talks about teams being, desperate, we will see the desperation in the first couple picks, I think.
We'll see the desperation
in the
with the compensation in the trade.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like when we see a trade and we're like, oh man, they gave up all that.
Like you said, because you've got a couple of these teams in the top 10 here, where you've got, even we'll just say Cleveland for the hell of it. The Giants, we've got even. I don't think the Jets are going to go quarterback, even though he brought up the Jets. I mean, I think they're comfortable with Fields, and I think they can see what they have. And if they suck this year, there's always next year, and then maybe Arch Manning or something. They got a shot at that or whatever. But still, Justin Fields young, a lot to do with him. And you get into the Saints type of teams. You get into some others to where it's there. They're on the clock.
Yeah.
They say Cam Ward's the only quarterback to go so far. So if they have a guy that they have in mind, he's there. Do they go for it? And you'll see the desperation if they do or not. If they go back on it, like you said, then we're going to see, and I think the most likely scenario is that teams are going to try to trade back into the first round, and that's when we're going to start to see some of these ones come in and see what teams are willing to trade out. I know the Cowboys, they said they've been trying to actively work trades. I don't know if that's meaning to turn up and move up.
They are trying to move up.
So that's part of a scenario too. Mm-hmm. So do they figure out something different? What are they going up for? But
here's my thing.
I just think that, that's where you're going to see the desperation in those top picks, because no matter what, we've seen other drafts to where we're talking about the quarterbacks not being of a certain level or whatever, and 4 quarterbacks go in the first round. So
that's because that position always gets pushed up.
They want to go. So
that position always gets pushed up no matter what. And you're going to see it even in this class. Keep in mind, Jackson Dart, my number 2 overall quarterback, everybody is saying across the board that he is going to be picked in the first round. Everybody. Mm-hmm. He's not getting out of the first round, one way or another, whether a team trades up and gets him or someone just flat out takes him. That's a name to watch. Shedeur seems to be sliding. And for some of the quarterback needy teams, your Vegas Raiders, your New York Giants, Cleveland Browns, the Saints, all those guys, everybody's saying they are not taking quarterback. They're going to take best player available is what everybody's is still talking about. And there's going to be a couple of surprises for some people out there. Jacksonville, whether they trade down or not, if they stay at 5, they're taking an offensive weapon. Mm-hmm. Now, that could mean Ashton Jeanty.
Yes, I've heard that name a lot lately.
Just saying.
With Jacksonville.
Ashton Jeanty or Teteroa McMillan is a possibility. They're going to go offensive weapon no matter who they – and I'm just going to say –
wide receiver here, but again, you're hearing Ashton Jeanty, but I mean –
I'm telling you right now, Jeanty is so high on boards, and everybody views him as one of the best running backs to come out the last 10 years. Like, he's that special. So he's getting pushed up now, higher than we initially thought. We thought, consensus thought anyway, 6 for the Raiders. He was going to go at number 6. Mm-hmm. Now they're saying, well, hold on a second. Jacksonville 5 is now a realistic option. The Patriots are an option. It's starting to permeate through the room where we were initially talking about, this player's going here, that player's going there. Mason Graham's going to go to Jacksonville at 5. It's changing because now we're getting a clearer picture on some teams and how they view these players, how special they think they are. Are they higher? Are they lower? Some names that we didn't really talk about. Think about Jalen Walker. Jalen Walker is one of the best linebackers coming out. A lot of people always kind of go to where, well, he's a phenomenal pass rusher. He's probably one of the best pass rushers in this draft, second to Abdul Carter. Okay. But now we're hearing Carolina at 8 loves Jalen Walker. The Raiders at 6 loves Jalen Walker. We're hearing these names now kind of pop up. Michael Williams from Georgia was seen as a 20s type of draft pick. Now in the last 24 hours, we're getting a clearer picture. Michael Williams is a option for the Panthers. Defensive end, something that they've needed for quite some time. Maybe could be an option at 8. So there's a lot of scenarios that are starting to brew, and it's going to get even crazier tomorrow. And as far as the quarterbacks too, I just want to touch up real quick.
By the way, real quick before we get into it, go ahead. Mike Tackett. Mike Tackett's
Mr. Mike Tackett.
There he is.
OG know-it-all himself.
Mm-hmm. I was a little late on that.
That's all right. I was
All
waiting
right.
for it.
Yes. Oh, by the way, that was Mike Tackett with that line there too with the question. I was so used to seeing Vito right there. Mike Tackett was the one that had the great question about quarterbacks.
Okay.
My bad, Mike. We love you, brother. He says
love
he
you too,
can see he's been with us for a while, so he'll understand a few mistakes here. I hope so. I can see Pittsburgh drafting quarterback Will Howard round 4 or 5. He says, "Yeah, I bet you could. Yeah, that makes sense." But
I mean, that's kind of the range where Will Howard would end up going.
Mhm.
Some people actually believe that he might be a 3rd-round pick.
yeah,
And that's the thing is like, as we try to gather information, some of it, how much of it is smoke?
yeah.
You know what I mean? How much of it is legitimate? Like, because that's the thing is,
We're gonna find out tomorrow.
as we get to tomorrow night, like I'm just saying, it is so much fun to talk about because there's so many different ways teams can go. This draft it has so much exclusivity between team to team because none of them
Mhm.
did a good enough job in free agency to fill up certain holes to where they're like, oh, they don't need that anymore. Oh, they don't need that anymore. It's still open.
Mhm.
So teams can go a lot of different directions. We'll talk about your Giants real quick.
Yes, yeah. I was just thinking that as you're
your
talking about
Giants
it. Mhm.
and the Cleveland Browns.
And the fact that they have trade capital that they want to unload, at least names that they've openly said that they're willing to trade out.
So recently, the Cleveland Browns, the Giants have been taking calls to trade down, actually. Now, with the 2nd overall and 3rd overall pick, it's going to take a lot.
Mhm.
Like, you're not trading out of there just to get a couple picks. You're trading out there to get a haul,
Mhm.
to get a bunch of picks to further help you throughout this whole draft and get a lot more prospects. I don't know if it's going to happen. We'll know because when the big deal is a trade and all these picks go because holy shit, like, what happened? Like, you know what I mean? So I think like for the Browns and the Giants, I think they're entertaining the phone calls. They're trying to gauge how much they could possibly get if they decide to move back and how far do they have to move back too. So because does that take them outside of where they might be comfortable in taking a player that they really want? So there's all those conversations there for the Giants and the Browns. The Browns and the Giants are definitely coming away with a quarterback no matter what in this draft. I guarantee you that. Whether that be 2nd round, where they couple other picks with the 2nd round pick to move back in the 1st and get their guy that they really like. Also, for the Giants front office, this is an interesting tidbit. There was recently talk about Shedeur Sanders. Would they still take him at 3? The front office is a little, we'll say, split. The personnel side loves Shedeur, wants Shedeur. Brian Daboll does not. Brian Daboll has worked with he worked with Josh Allen. Like, that's his kind of type of quarterback. So I think, if anything, Brian Daboll wants Jackson Dart. That's kind of where he's like, I could really work with that guy. That guy is my kind of guy. I really would like to get him somehow. Let's make it work. Joe Shane, that's your job. Figure it out. Figure out a way to get Jackson Dart. And the personnel, the scouts, and all them, they're like, no, we like Shedeur. You got to take Shedeur. He's going to be. Here's my thing. If it gets to 3, they can't trade down if they want to trade down, and they're going to take the player. Abdul Carter might be sitting there, maybe Travis Hunter sitting there. Do you take the best player available, or are you going to be in a battle to where the owner has to maybe step in and make a decision? And that's never a good thing,
Right.
because the owner is paying you guys to make the football decisions.
Yeah. I think
So,
he's an owner.
There's
You know what I mean?
sometimes the owners get involved if they have to, and sometimes the owners get involved because they own the team. Mara has done a very good job of kind of staying back and letting the football guys handle football things. But if it gets to the point where they're at an impasse and Joe Shane's like, I don't know which way to go, then maybe Mr. Mara is going to have to step in and say, well, I think we should go best player available. Or I think
well,
we
the
need
thing
to
is, even as a Giants fan here, when you're sitting here and, like you said, you're kind of seeing this class and where they are, and you have the players there, we've always seen best available works. Even when the Giants were looking for something a little better to help out Eli back in, when it was towards the end of his career, we still remember the Odell Beckham Jr. trade or draft. And, I obviously didn't want to go there. But, again, we talked about it and what type of dynamic player he was at the time. And look at the difference just having him made for that team. Whether he was only the one sole star of that team, it excelled the team, and they were winning and made playoffs, and it helped the offense. So you get a difference maker in those top spots. And if it's Abdul Carter or if it's Travis Hunter, that's going to be a big impact. And like you said, then you look at your GM. Now it's up to you to make that move to get back into it and get value here and to get that quarterback that you want later on in the draft. And now you have both. So now you have your playmaker. You have Russell Wilson, who isn't completely gone right now, and he's still on a pretty easy deal to be done with afterwards. Yeah. To bridge you to where you got to go to this next quarterback, and he's already got two young great weapons in Hunter and Neighbors, or you've got that defense stepping up now. You've added stuff in the offseason. You've added now Abdul Carter if he's there. That will help here and help him as well, because you see defense or quarterbacks just as good as a best friend as any good wide receiver or a tight end too. Keeping the offense, off the field here and take care of the other team, and even get turnovers to create points too as well. We've seen defenses win championships. So I think you have to go best available. That formula never fails. And they can say what they want, they're traded out, blah, blah, blah. But again, I think some of these later on teams aren't willing to give up that much.
I think it's too much. I think it's too much. And in a class where quarterbacks especially are not as highly valued, or some people even said that there's not a first round pick in this class at quarterback. Like, just being blatantly honest.
Right.
Like that's how they view this. Or they might there might be one, but he's still developmental in Cam Ward. Now, is it worth taking one overall? No, it's really not. But again, Tennessee's not trading out. And listen, like, we did our mock draft with Roderick David, and
it was way fucked up.
I had
I don't even think that's going to be realistic at all.
And it was. I mean,
it was good. Like, again, but how many times we look at even some of these drafts when we do mock drafts too? Because we have really great mock drafts too. And like, if we did our mock draft in 2022, I think every team wins.
We had.
Right?
Well, that's the thing is, like, when we did our mock draft though, we actually had like the first 6 or 7 picks right.
Right.
Like, we were nailing it.
Yeah.
And then it went. Then obviously, like, we got a couple wrong, but then we got another one right. Then we got a couple more right. But still, it was great conversation. It's an option of how it could go, because if you view this, especially this draft class, as this is one of those few draft classes where you got to go BPA. Yeah. No matter what. Quarterback doesn't matter. Like, got to go. Abdul Carter should be the first pick player taken. Should be. Travis, you can make an argument with Travis Hunter too. Like, I wouldn't be mad at that if you decided Travis Hunter to Tennessee. A guy that can do 2 positions, or at least is, that's kind of like the thinking, the thought process is that he's going to be able to do both sides. You get 2 players in one. That's kind of crazy. But like with the Browns, this is where I feel like there's going to be a game of chicken. I'll say that. There's going to be a game of chicken for a quarterback, whether that be Cleveland, the Giants, or maybe the Saints, to trade back in to get their guy, to get their quarterback. There's going to be a game of chicken. Nobody really wants to. Nobody really wants to give up compensation to move back in to get a quarterback. But if they got to make that move, then it's going to happen. Who's going to be the first to pull the trigger? Because they all need it, right? They all, and I don't, and we don't expect Cleveland or the Giants to go quarterback with that their first round pick. So there's going to be some different, there's going to be like a different mentality going into this. And then since we're talking about quarterbacks still, I got to be honest, I'm hearing news about Tyler Shough. I have him as my 6th quarterback on my top 10, and I'm hearing the LA Rams. Watch for the LA Rams at the bottom of the first round. They pick a lot later than everybody else. They don't have any kind of major needs. When you look at their roster, they really don't. Could they take wide receiver? Sure, they could. If they have a wide receiver in mind that they really like, they could take wide receiver there to kind of replace Cooper Kupp. But someone's saying that Tyler Shough is a possibility, and they really, really love him. So if he's available, so now you have like a team that is a winning team. They don't really need to take quarterback right now, but they might prepare. They might do it in the future. So the Rams are a team to watch out for. Now, goes back to Cleveland and the Giants, picking top end of the second round. If one of them loves Tyler Shough, or the Saints love Tyler Shough, you got to get ahead of the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to get ahead of Pittsburgh at 21. This is what makes this so perplexing, so exciting, and every option available. Like, I really do believe that this draft is going to be really exciting to watch. We're going to have a lot of surprises. There might be a trade or two that we didn't envision maybe, or maybe for a player that we never thought that team would go for. I know for a fact that the Dallas Cowboys really want a playmaker. It sounds like they would love Gentry, to be honest with you, because it's a need and it's one of the best players in the draft. But I don't think they can trade up nearly as far to make sure and guarantee they get him. And I know that Jerry Jones loves his splash picks, especially in the first round. He likes taking, the skill players. So think maybe maybe Cowboys are trying to trade up because they're concerned they might not get a Matthew Golden from Texas, wide receiver, a Tedero McMillan, wide receiver from Arizona. I think those two guys come into play big time for Dallas. I think they want one of them. And to guarantee that, they might have to move up a little bit. But that's what's really exciting.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot of different things. Joe, I'm even hearing now, as of tonight, even too, that Texas offensive tackle Kelvin Banks, people are predicting to go top 15 here, so he's moving up in the boards too.
I think he goes to 13 to Miami Dolphins, to be honest with you. Or because I've also heard this about Banks, that he's actually rising up the boards so much so that don't be surprised, he could be a bottom 10 pick, like top 10, but on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe the Jets. Like maybe like anybody up there. Chicago Bears at 10. Like there's teams that still could use offensive line. And if they view they really like Kelvin Banks, he's a guy that can play guard or tackle. He's versatile. Like there's a lot to like there.
All right, so let's kind of go through the draft order quick and kind of give scenarios, and then we'll roll up out of here. So, Joe, we already kind of expect what Tennessee is going to do. Mm-hmm. We got a shout out here in the house with us tonight too. Let's give a shout out to him. B-Town.
What up, B-Town?
B-Town says dope studio. Thank you so much.
Thank you, bro.
Designed it
appreciate
myself
it
with some help with Joe, and we were working on it all the time. We appreciate that. So Tennessee again, it looks like it's expected Cam Ward. So let's just kind of move on from there. So now it's Cleveland Browns. I mean, if you're Cleveland, you're sitting there now. Well, what's the biggest difference maker for you? I think your defense is already good. I mean, you got Jim Schwartz there still doing what they can. Your quarterback situation is kind of rough, but you've got Joe Flacco who's kind of been there, done that so far. So they traded away Amari Cooper. We know that, to the Bills
Kenny
and all that stuff, and they got Kenny Pickett. Now I get that too. But do you go with Travis Hunter to be that offensive weapon now to help you out here on that side of the ball? So you got to get it going because that's where you kind of were sluggish before. You've had injuries that mounted a little bit last year, but that will get you going, I think. Like I said, how different a difference maker can do for your offense to kind of get you going and get you on the winning side to where you were a playoff team a year previous and then not last year. And the fact that Myles Garrett is saying, yo, I want the fuck out of here. And then all of a sudden he's like re-signing.
Money talks.
Money talks. I get
Money
that.
talks.
But well, what else? So
Money
what's
talks.
the scenario? You go and Abdul Carter. You said it. That's your best guy. And a lot of people do think that's the best guy in this draft right now. You're thinking of going to the defensive side of the ball, or you think it's just going to be like a Travis Hunter?
I think it's going to be defense, and it will be Travis Hunter.
There you go. So he's going
to play both.
Cornerback.
He's going to play both for Cleveland.
Mhm.
Like I feel like it's team specific for Travis Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, they'll give him a shot to play receiver and corner full time. They will, because they could use both. They're desperate for a playmaking receiver. They're desperate for another big time corner, a ball hawk, and Travis Hunter can give you both. Again, we talked about it on the show. Can he actually do it though? Not conditioning wise. Conditioning he's an alien. It doesn't make any sense how he can do offense and defense full time in college. It didn't make any sense at all. So, but like at the next level, it's a big step up, man. Speed, the players around you, it's the best of the best, and it's very physical. I feel like some college players, when they make this jump to the NFL, they don't anticipate just how physical this game actually is. And for him to play full-time receiver and corner, I don't know, man. He might get beat up. We've seen him get injured at Colorado. He's missed some games before because he got hit really hard one time. And he missed like the next 3 or 4 weeks. It's like, this is the NFL. If that happens over and over and over, his body might break down. He's not the biggest dude. And maybe he misses a lot more time. And maybe he doesn't ever turn out to be the biggest hype of a player that everybody's anticipating. But also, like, can Travis Hunter, can he absorb all that information? I mean, don't get me wrong. Guy's a 4.0 student, GPA. It's crazy. Like, he's damn near a genius. But can he absorb all that information on the offensive side, on the defensive side, all the checks and balances for every play, the different audibles on each side? Like, there's so much that he has to overcome. We just don't know if it's attainable, if it's realistic. So Cleveland will give him a shot, though. Like, there's no doubt about it. They could use both positions for Travis Hunter. I think for Cleveland, again, if they go Abdul Carter, I wouldn't be mad either.
You can.
To me, I think you pair him up with Myles Garrett, and maybe you don't need corners at all.
Right. Yeah, and the same scenario here for the Giants, too, picking at 3. I think, again, for me, I would take either of them again. Abdul Carter, I like it on the defensive side because, again, we're talking about Kayvon Thibodeau, where for me, I think still playing underwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I think was still his best year and still not really great, especially being where he was drafted.
Mm-hmm.
I think draft position really weighs into all that stuff and where you're going to get, because the Giants even talked about Evan Neal being on the trade block too. Like, nobody's going to give you shit for Evan Neal, dude.
They'll give you a bag of peanuts.
Lost. So throw that out the freaking window, right? So, I mean, I think if they do go Abdul Carter, again, Thibodeau is on the move somewhere. At least if not even this year, they're walking away. You know what I mean? So he'll just run out his contract or whatever. They're not going to sign a 5th-year option or anything like that.
Thibodeau has been rumored to being traded in the draft for either just for draft compensation or part of trading back into the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard both sides of it. Because if the Giants are going to go Abdul Carter, that kind of opens up that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
It opens up the ability to just move on from Thibodeau. Trade him while you're not paying him anything and see what you can get for him. Maybe there's a defensive coordinator out there that's like, yo, I want that guy. I think I can develop him even better. I think I can turn his career around, whatever, right? There's always those coaches out there that think they can, and sometimes it happens, not saying that it doesn't, but there's always somebody that believes in a player that they can turn their career around if it is failing. So Thibodeau has been a little bit lackluster, and a lot of it's due to injuries. A lot of it's, especially his rookie year, just didn't do squat, like nothing. And you got Dexter Lawrence next to you. Like, come on, man. Show me something here. But I've heard that over and over and over that Thibodeau could be an option to either just trade away straight up or part of a package deal.
All right, Joe. Now, Patriots sitting there at 4. We've heard about them possibly in trade rumors even too, because they have an interesting pick there on what they want. I don't think they really need, now that they got Drake May and stuff, they're not going in on quarterback. They've traded their backup away. So, again, offensive line maybe to help out that, or I know when we talked about it with Roderick David, again, former scout for the Atlanta Falcons, now has his own company too, where he works with young talent. These guys getting into the NFL as well, prospects. He's already working on next year.
2026. Yeah.
So he's going to be on our show. By the way, you guys check that out tomorrow night. We go live at 7:30 on the Blindside Blitz.
Let's get active, everybody.
And so wide receiver talent, I think, is where they're lacking too. So are they going to be the first to jump on, see a Tetero McMillan here or whatnot? Because, again, people are seeing him not drop far at all. He's going to be a high commodity here.
It's funny because his name's come up recently, and some teams don't even view him as a top end pick of the draft. Some people aren't as impressed with his route running in terms of coming out of breaks, getting separation from some corners and everything. I mean, hell, even Todd McShay, former ESPN guy, now he's on his own. He's got his own podcast and everything. Even him, like
Todd,
he did his big board. And he's just not, he goes, I just don't like him. I'm like, what do you mean you just don't like him? He's got him 50th overall.
Oh,
50th.
What's he seeing that other people aren't then? I mean, what is it?
He just said, like, he's like, I don't like the lack of separation. And I'm like, because he's like, there's a lot of contested balls in his film. And yes, there is. But something that kind of, for me anyway, I have Tetero McMillan really high. I have it as my number 1, number 2. I can't even remember what order I had him in, but he's up there. He's in the top 3. And after watching more tape, initially I'm like, I don't know. The guy's big, but he does do a lot of contested catches. But then I started watching more film. And yes, he might not get the biggest separation from people, but he gets enough. And then after the catch, I mean, contested catches, it's his ball. If he wants to catch that ball, he's going to catch it. And I've seen him do some insane catches. Like over the corner, the ball's thrown behind the corner here. He's in front. Corner's right here on his chest. He jumps up, watches the ball, catches it backwards. Like, it's stuff that doesn't make sense. And the guy has huge hands. He's got over 10-inch hands. It's just the guy is. And when you watch him, like after the catch, he pulls away from people. This whole talk about he's a 4.55 type of guy, maybe 4.6. This whole talk about him not being able to run fast. I think he runs faster than that time. When you watch him on tape, he's pulling away from people. In the open field, he catches the ball, he goes for 6. Like there's no way he only runs a high 4, like low 4.6, high 4.5. With that time, he shouldn't be able to do that. So there's elements in his game where I'm just like, I don't see what Todd McShay sees. I don't see what some other people that are a little bit lower on him sees. I think he's a special player, and he could be. He's definitely going to be an option for the Patriots. Wouldn't that be nice to pair him up with Drake May? Now you've got a guy who can grow with you, can develop that chemistry with you. And then for the Patriots also, like, all signs point to offensive line, no doubt about it. Left guard needs an upgrade. Left tackle, there is none. There's not a left tackle right now. Like, I'm sorry, you can't be comfortable going into the season. That's why for the Patriots, it really sucks at 4. It's not – they almost can't go BPA if they're stuck there. They almost have to go with need. They almost have to take the best option at left tackle is that Will Campbell from LSU. Is that Kelvin Banks Jr.
Mhm.
Is that someone else that we're not thinking? Is it Membu? But Membu's played right tackle his whole career. Can he make the switch to left? That's so difficult to do. It's like Jim. You're right-handed, left-handed.
Yeah.
You're right-handed.
Right-handed.
So it's like writing right-handed your whole life, and then today for tomorrow's show, Jim, you can only write in your left-handed. That's what it's like. It's so difficult. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Patriots do, because they could perhaps wait till the second round and draft a developmental left tackle, and maybe they can work some magic there. But all signs point to O-line. I guess this is what, in the end, all I'm saying is that it would be awesome for the Patriots if they could swing it, get themselves whatever receiver they love. If they love Tedero McMillan, if they love Matthew Golden, if they love even Ashton Jeanty, who having that great running back behind Drake May, it's going to relieve a lot of pressure on him, especially with a team that's still trying to fill that roster and still trying to turn the corner.
Because when you even talk about it, you talk about this is what you said. BPA, you always can't go wrong, right? But then when you have some good players here too, but you have needs that need to be filled, this is where I think we always have these talking points to where, hey, we can go offensive line here because we need it and it's here. Let's do it. What do? They go for the playmaker or whatnot. And the difference it could make when you bring about, we were talking about Jacksonville too and how they could possibly go Ashton Jeanty. I see that even. I wouldn't again. I'm thinking a weapon, but if McMillan goes here, wide receiver, or do they still go for the next wide receiver, or whoever they think is on their board? Because I feel like they do need one.
Right.
But I feel like if they go running back too as well, that can still help because we've seen Trevor Lawrence struggle lately too. We've seen have the pressure go on him just even to try and get it to some weapons that he has had. He's had Calvin
and the fact
Ridley
that
there.
Travis Etienne is not on the field enough.
Exactly. So getting that running game going, that will still even help him out. And then now you just geared, especially with a new head coach, you gear towards your running game, play action, open it up here, be a little more balanced. And maybe you do see Trevor Lawrence excel now in this offense. Could be a game changer for them.
Maybe for the Patriots too. Maybe if they want that weapon, that blue chip type of guy where they're like, we would love to take this guy, take him at 4, and they become another team looking to trade back in. If they could swing it and draft Josh Simmons from Ohio State, a guy that would be a top 5, definitely would be the best tackle coming out in this class if he hadn't had injury concerns. And I guess there's another thing, in terms of attitude, he doesn't take things seriously. That's kind of being rumored about him. But let's just say everything's good. He's going to be ready for training camp. If you give me a clean bill of health, Josh Simmons is the best tackle in this class, hands down. Guy is gifted. So that's another option. Or maybe they don't have to. Maybe he will slide the second round. They can take him then. So, it's going to be one of these things where tune in tomorrow night because we are going to have some fun, everybody. With our brother channel, Grumblings Media, make sure you head over there tomorrow night. We are starting 7:30 p.m.
Eastern,
make sure you get there. Eastern, thank you. And then we're also having a special guest, a former NFL scout, Roderick David, on the program. He's going to be coming in the middle portion of the first round. Make sure you tune in. If you want to ask him any questions, anything that you guys want to talk about at all, it's going to be an epic night. It's our biggest night of the year. We want you guys to be a part of it.
Absolutely. We're going to have guests all night long, Joe. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a swinging door just opening up here all the time. So that brings us even to the Raiders idea. Again, we've heard Ashton Jeanty again, Raiders, blah, blah. We've talked about it differently even too with the Raiders in our mock draft to where we went in a different location. And Jeanty was still there in our mock draft. But again, if he's picked in these next couple of ones,
I didn't have a pick, by the way.
No, you didn't. Which is kind of brings me up a thing. He didn't pick tight end here, but I found it intriguing with Roderick's view on tight ends, I guess, in this draft, which I haven't really heard so far in everybody's conversations this year in mock drafts. He picked 3 to 4 tight ends in the first round. And one of them being Tyler Warren, I forget. He went Was
makes
he who he
sense.
picked for the? Did he pick? No, he didn't pick him for the Patriots, but he picked a tight end for the Patriots at their pick. And then further on, he went for a couple of different times here. But I'm even hearing
That's another possibility.
Tyler Warren to the Jets. I heard they really
Yep.
like him here too. So
They've
that's
done a lot of
possibility.
homework
He's
on it.
picking right after your Raiders, and Raiders they hit a home run with their tight end they ended up grabbing last year. But I found that really intriguing. And if you saw the same kind of thing here that he was with the first round and maybe 3 tight ends being picked.
I think it's going to be interesting. I definitely think 100%. 100%. Colston Loveland from Michigan and Tyler Warren from Penn State are both top
That's who he
15
grabbed.
picks.
That's who he picked for the Patriots.
Top 15 picks in my mind. They're definitely getting picked in the first round. As far as 3 go, Mason Taylor is the other one from LSU. He's a possibility. But again, I for a fact, definitely the top 2, Loveland and but it would be interesting if that was to creep up and maybe a 3rd tight end sneaks into the first round. Because anytime there's a surprise, whether it be a surprise pick of a player or position, that we didn't expect that many to go. Running backs is another one to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are saying 3 running backs could
Right.
go in the first round. It could be Omarion Hampton from North Carolina. It could be Travion Henderson from Ohio State. It can be, obviously, Genty. If that happens, anytime that happens in any given draft, that drops all the talent level down a notch. Every time that happens. Guys that you didn't think would drop another level. And then pretty soon you got 4 or 5 guys you didn't think would be in the second round there. So that's what makes this draft intriguing, is because nobody has a freaking clue. On the outside looking in, I don't care if there's so-called experts out there. I don't care if you got your draft pundits out there doing podcasts like
Right.
us.
And
Nobody knows what's going to happen with this draft.
mm-hmm. And the GMs, again, seeing with the other positions here, too, they kind of, I think, view it. I know John Lynch had brought up the fact that here, too, there's so much talent around there that they feel comfortable sitting where they are or whatever. They can still find great value where they are. And even if you said, if people make runs on quarterbacks or running backs,
Tight ends.
that just brings you to the second round. And day 2, to where 2nd and 3rd round is going to get even better. We're going to see so many good picks, I think, in the 2nd and 3rd round, too.
I'm telling you right now, guaranteed the first, like the 2nd round, maybe even the 3rd round, you're going to get first round talent. That's how deep this draft actually is. And then even beyond that, depending on position, running backs, D-line, it goes deeper than that. You're going to get first round talent in the 4th round. Maybe it extends to the 5th round. Like, it's so insane. And then you're going to have a period where you get to 5 to 7, where you're going to have really unique developmental players that could end up turning out to be starters down the road. So that's what this draft is. I know we say this a lot. Most, polarizing draft, or, the most exciting draft. This is for the first time in a long time, I view this draft as one of the most unpredictable value. I mean, the value is through the roof. That I'm really intrigued on how these teams, we're going to find out in the first round anyway, until we get to day 2. But at least the first round is going to really show us on how these teams view these players, because it's been months now where we're guessing, we're doing top 10 lists and we're having fun with it and all that. But how do these teams really view these players? Do they view them the same light? Probably not. It's probably going to be completely different. So I can't wait.
Joe, so all right, we're going to go through your pick here with the Raiders, because you get a chance to pick for your Raiders in the mock draft. So we'll grab you to see what you think for the Raiders. And then I posed a question too. We've talked about desperate teams moving up for quarterback, but what team maybe even do you expect the most? We've heard about the Eagles making moves, trading and things like that too, and others. What team do you think makes a move up And what player would it be for? We're hearing again, like you just brought up too. Don't be surprised if a team moves up to get Ashton Genty here to jump in front of people to leapfrog, to do that. Not just these quarterbacks here, because again, with some of the talent that they have. So do your Raiders pick, and then we'll see what team you think moves up for a position player.
So, for my Raiders, again, it's the same with any other team. They can go in a lot of different directions, but I just hope that they go with best player available, whatever that is on the draft board. Could it be Ashton Genty? Sure, it could be. And I've heard rumors that now that Genty's name is becoming hot, and maybe Jacksonville, maybe the Patriots, teams that we didn't anticipate before might be in on him. Now they're in on him. Does that force the Raiders to now start having conversations like, hey, Patriots at 4, would you trade down to 6? What's it going to cost? Can we leapfrog Jacksonville so we can lock up Ashton Genty? If this is true. I don't know if it's smoke and mirrors or, if it's red hot take, like whatever. But it's something to think about. Like maybe that could be a move that we don't anticipate. The Raiders moving up. I don't think they should. I think if anything, they want to trade down, accumulate more picks, and then take best player available then. But I really like Jalen Walker. For one, I wouldn't be mad if they took Genty if that was the scenario. I just don't want them to take a player where he's one-dimensional. I view Will Johnson like that player. Will Johnson, to me, elite and exceptional at zone coverage. He's the best zone coverage corner in the draft, hands down. But he has to go to a team like that. San Francisco. We talked about that earlier in the show. They might be a team trading up. It might be for Will Johnson. Maybe they don't think they have some concern he won't be there at 11. The Bears is another team that could be looking to trade up because maybe they're in love with Ashton Genty. I know the Bears fans out there, I know Bears in general, are hoping that Genty slides and they can get him at 10. Would that mean if he does go, does that mean, the Bears lost the draft? No, I think then they switch gears and they go tight end. That's where I think you could see one of the tight ends go too. One of the offensive tackles can go there. So a lot of different scenarios for sure. The Texans I'm hearing, the Houston Texans are looking to trade up, which I found really intriguing. Now, why would they be trying to trade up when they could easily stay where they're at and take best player available offensive lineman? Maybe they take, if a tight end happens to slide to them, maybe they take one. I know wide receiver is one of the options that they're really looking at. Maybe maybe it's Matthew Golden. Maybe they really like Matthew Golden and they're looking to trade up to get him. I mean, so I think that there's no shortage of intrigue as we approach tomorrow night. There's a lot of scenarios. There's a lot of information coming out. A lot of teams now are starting to get interested in trading up because there's a certain niche player or certain player that they absolutely love. They have them really high on their board, and they're like, if we could pull this off, we would be ecstatic. So that's what makes this thing interesting. Also, to keep an eye out on the Packers. The Packers are very interested in George Pickens, Steelers wide receiver. We know that Pickens and Mike Tomlin and the locker room sometimes don't see eye to eye. Is draft day tomorrow, or maybe even right before the draft kicks off? Is that something that might break? Will George Pickens be traded? I know the Packers are super, super interested in George Pickens and would love to pull a trade off for him. So that's something else to watch for. Anything else?
All right, Joe, I mean, there's a bunch of different scenarios we could go through, but I think then we'll be just here all night. I think we should just leave people waiting for tomorrow.
We're going to be. Hey,
I mean, we talked about the top ones, scenarios that can go on.
So many scenarios.
We're going to do this for like 5 hours tomorrow. So, I mean.
buckle your chin strap.
This is
baby.
just a preview a little bit to
That's
see
right.
like what over some different scenarios.
It's gonna be
Joe
fun.
dropped some different trade stuff out there. We're gonna find out more tomorrow, and there's gonna be even more smoke and mirrors tomorrow too.
Everybody
but
out
make
there.
sure you guys do check us
Just
out
wanna
tomorrow
say-
in the live stream.
Just want to say, help us grow this channel. We've come so far. We've done this for several years with it. We're 8th year?
This is gonna be starting our 8th year. I think.
Starting our 8th year for this upcoming season.
Mhm.
We've been there, done that. We're still doing it. We want you guys to be a part of it. Become a know-it-all. Head over to YouTube for us. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up while you're there. Any comments, sharing, anything like that, it really helps the YouTube algorithm for us. Helps us move up the little ladder there, get more noticed, and definitely any support is really do appreciate it. Don't forget tomorrow night, NFL Draft Night. You can tell that the emotions are going to be high. It's going to be exciting. Does Jalen Milroe get stuck in the green room tomorrow?
Right. Some of the guys that are
You
getting
know what I mean?
invited there, yeah.
So please join us. We want you guys to be part of the show. Be interactive, like Vito was, like OG Mike Tackett was, and so many more of you out there. Make sure you check our brother channel out, Grumblings Media. While you're there, hit that subscribe button for us. Tune in tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be joined with a very special guest, Roderick David, former NFL scout. Make sure you drop in the comments, be part of the show. Let's go tomorrow night.
All right.
Draft night.
See you guys tomorrow.